This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. It's Happy Valentine's Day today. Happy Valentine's Day, honey. Happy Valentine's Day to your wife, Matt.
Thanks, Dave, for calling me honey.
Bumper Radio, we are helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car repair experience. I'm Dave Riccio. He's Matt Allen. And we are taking your phone calls, 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text us at 411-923. We're going to be taking some emails from bumpertobumperradio.com, as well as a texting and oil changes. I think there's a little bit of difference between what people think they're doing with their car on oil changes and what the mechanics think they're doing. And this was out of a poll. There might be a miscommunication about maintenance because 86% of consumers polled responded they were vigilant about their oil change. 40% of mechanics polled they felt that there was a big neglect of oil change to the detriment of a lot of these vehicles. So the consumer thinks, hey, I'm taking care of my car, getting oil changes, doing a good job, and the mechanic's saying not so much.
Well, I'm sure there's some truth to that, and it's all perception. I mean, people feel like they're in the shop a lot, but we have some customers, they come in, it's doing 3,000 miles, they're in 2,999, and then there's some that, it says 3,000 or 5,000, we see them at 4,200 or, gosh, who knows when. But I think there's probably a little bit of reality to both of those because in the shop, we certainly see the oil changes and the effect of neglecting the
lack of oil
changes on the car. So I guess the 46%, I don't think that means 46% of the people don't do it. I'm not sure that's where the gap was. But
are you misquoting my numbers? It was 40%.
Oh, 40%. Well, okay, whatever. 86%. Well, you know what they say about quotes. They're just kind of made up right before they're
70% of all statistics are made up just before they're given, yes.
Right, like that one right there. But I think, the oil change is one of the easiest things to do at home. Or at least it used to be. It's one of the easiest things to screw up at home.
At least it used to be. It still is.
Yeah, and the for the shop, it's an easy thing to kind of screw up too. There's a lot of risk doing this. A very easy oil change, from just something dumb like just not paying attention and cleaning off the old oil. Where it drips down the engine or the frame rail or something like that to which is the perception of a bad job, which it would be a bad job.
Right.
The little things you can overlook, like an oil drain plug gasket or not getting the oil filter tight. And then, gosh, what about all the oils? That's the thing where it can go wrong. Besides doing something just blatantly wrong, forgetting to put the oil in. I've seen guys put oil in the transmission because it's a different thing, or not put it in the transmission, but drain the transmission oil thinking it's the engine.
Oh yeah, I've done a lot. Not a lot, but it happens. People say, hey, you went out to save $40 on your oil change and you bought a $4,000 transmission.
Yeah, because they drain the transmission oil and then go add 4 quarts of oil and rip around the block and then come check it and realize it's overfull and they blew up the transmission. And I was just looking. I logged on to our shop software from here and I was looking at some of the last 10 cars in our database that we worked on. And I came up with 6 different motor oils for that. And I know we've got a lot more than that on the shelf at the shop. So, one of them, let's just say one of them was a 2011 Chevrolet product. It takes a GM specification oil, GM 4781. What the heck is that? That's a synthetic oil in a Chevy pickup truck. That's not your $29.95 oil change. So that's where it goes wrong too. That's just an oil change. I ought to be able to get, you see the coupons for $19.88, $21.95. We run a special, $29.95.
You can put just about anything in there that's oil, but is it going to be good for your car? And if you're doing wrong oil change after oil change after oil change, that's not going to be good.
No, because just say you start burning oil or you have an engine-related failure or something happens in that 50,000 miles. Luckily, maybe it would happen in warranty, and then they can somehow blame or attribute your failure to using the wrong oil. Church is out, you're done. You've got no warranty. Or if you don't have the failure, it's just going to shorten the life of the engine. So you've got to be really careful with your oil changes in putting in the right oil. The other thing that people do is they go buy this car. They need a new car. They don't want to do the maintenance on their car. Maybe it's caught up, and so their maintenance has now turned into repairs and maintenance. And I'm going to go get a new car. And I've had some of these people. Actually, I had a guy that we took care of his Camry for a long time. He really loved that Camry. That just takes 530 normal oil, just what I would call normal.
Nothing boutique.
Yeah, it's just, and then he shows up. He's got his 2015 Camry. He shows up at 5,000 miles for the first oil change, and it's $70. We had to pick him up off the floor. What? And he couldn't do the oil change because he hadn't budgeted the $62 or $70, whatever it is. Well, that 2015 Camry requires a 0.20 synthetic motor oil.
That's different.
And he wanted us, no, I can't do that. Just put in the 530. No, we're not doing that. We're not going to lead you down this road. Go save another $30 and let's do the oil change right.
Well, are you saying the later the model of the car, the more expensive they are to fix? Because it's kind of one of those things where, I mean, we weren't going here, but cars are being made better and better, in my mind. But when they do need repair, they seem more expensive to fix. Because it's a $1,000 computer module, or it's a $800 this or $800 that. I mean, it seems like the repairs are more intense when they happen, but overall the cars are better.
Well, they can be, and I think it's because the manufacturers are using composite products. So what is that? It's plastic. So you've got this oil that you don't change enough, or maybe use the wrong one. Well, that oil is taking all kinds of contaminants. It's got acids, and I mean, I don't know, the list goes on. I'm not an oil expert. I'm not going to pretend to be. I just know common sense wise, there's a lot of junk and stuff in the oil that the combustion process creates, and the oil captures that, and that has to go through the PCV system. So now when what we find in these cars that haven't had their oil changed regularly, they have a propensity to leak oil more because the seal's hardened. They have crankcase ventilation problems because the PCV systems and the oil separators and flame guards get clogged up with junk, gook. Carbon in the engines, they contribute to that. So there's all kinds of things that doing what we think is a simple oil change can prevent, but the oil change isn't just so simple.
Well, I think we've gone from two extremes with oil changes, and that's why I think consumers are totally confused, because we all knew that every 3 months and 3,000 miles we got an oil change. I mean, that was for decades, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's still that way on some cars, too.
Well, then we went to the other extreme. We came out with synthetic oils, and we realized these things are doing a little better, lasting a little longer. The automotive manufacturers like to sell the low cost of ownership, at least the initial low cost of ownership. So they stretched out that oil change intervals, and really to the detriment to where they're finding there's problems by not coming in every 15,000 miles when the engine runs out of oil before you come back. And so we're saying, 5,000 mile oil changes still needs to be done. Even if the manual says 10,000 or 15,000 miles, that's no good.
Yeah, and I think, I had a buddy of mine bought I have a 2010 Toyota Tundra, and I think he just bought a 2014. And he asked about the oil change. He goes, geez, it says I can go 10,000 miles. Yeah, you can.
If you really want to.
I mean, I've done it a couple times. I should be changing mine every 5. I use a very good synthetic 0.20 oil. I want to do it at 5. I'm about 1,600 overdue right now. I'm not terribly concerned about that. But I think it's okay to stretch those a little bit. If you're very disciplined, the first half, let's just say the first 50,000 miles of the car's life, you remember, it's not just the oil change. So, yeah, you need to get the oil change, and the engine's cleaner, and it's very efficient. But as that thing ages and the computer starts adding more fuel and doing things to make up for wear and tear, you've got to get that oil out of there. And it's not just the oil. I think the oil in a lot of cases is good, but the filter technology maybe hasn't caught up with as good as the oil is, down to the ultra mini micron or whatever, how many billionths of an inch of or microns we want to allow through the oil filter. But if you get in that bad habit early, now you let the car go without oil changes later in its life, and that's where we see these extended drain intervals. You're not getting somebody to look at the car and the darn thing blows up or falls apart around in between those long oil change intervals.
Well, when we come back, we've got John, Adam, and Doug, and a couple open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys, here on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper to bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
It's really coming down now, and that little voice is saying shoulda, coulda, woulda. You meant to call Kaiko Roofing last storm, but you didn't, did you? Now it's raining cats and dogs, and Mr. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is watching a puddle form on the ceiling. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, get rid of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Call Kaiko Roofing at 602-944-4600 for a free checkup today. At Kaiko, we install peace of mind with the finest materials and the most skilled workers, all backed by the owner's pride guarantee. Flat, foam, tile, or shingle, Kaiko handles them all. From a small leak to a complete new roof, Kaiko has you covered. Since 1994, Kaiko has repaired or replaced tens of thousands of Valley roofs. Over 50% of our business coming from referrals or repeat customers. In fact, over 98% of our customers say they would refer us to a friend. For more information and financing options, go to KaikoRoofing.com. Kaiko Roofing. We're crazy about quality.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio on a Valentine's Day. You know, I got to get to the store, get a card or something. Valentine's Day is a weird one for me. I'm not Joe Romantic.
Pretty cut dry, right to the point, Dave, huh?
I'm just not very good at that kind of stuff. My wife, we've got a chalkboard in our kitchen, or kind of living room area, and my wife drew this huge heart with her hand holding it. She's an art teacher, so she can do amazing things. And it says, Happy Valentine's or Be My Valentine or whatever. I can't do anything with that. I can't compete with that.
Right, you just get left out. I don't know.
So anyway,
every day is Valentine's Day at my house, Dave.
I really,
I roll my eyes.
I totally believe that. I'm going to call Edith and ask her if that's true. So up first this segment, we're going to go with John in Phoenix. It looks like he's got an oil change question. How can we help you, John?
Yeah, Matt. I was talking to you guys a couple weeks ago on the water injection. I'm going to be turning 60 in a couple of months, so I got into the old technology. I don't know if she wrote down. Remember the old France oil filters where you put toilet paper in, and you had you ran a bypass where you run your standard oil goes through your standard oil filter, but you took like 10% of the flow and you ran it through basically toilet paper, and it would filter down to like 1/10 of a micron. So your oil was perfectly clear.
Was that Charmin toilet paper? Or?
Well, that's what I was
no,
wondering.
they actually had some stuff. They'd get you like $4 a roll for it, but you could use the old Scots.
Yeah.
But this is probably, something that probably most of your listeners never heard of, but it's really old technology, and it worked. I was using the synthetic since the 70s, and, later on when we had bought a new car, I would run the synthetic through the brand new car about 2,000 miles and drain it out and put it in the older car with the France oil filter, and it would make it cleaner than it came out of the bottle. But you're familiar with the bypass oil filters where you do extra fine filtering, but not full flow. You do, what they call partial flow.
Yeah, I mean, that's some old stuff. I think I remember seeing one of those once or twice, but being born in '70 wasn't anything I was working on. But those are probably still around in those old classics. But
my grandfather, he preached that toilet paper. They didn't have Charmin back then.
Right. Maybe he was just using that stuff that really chafes you. I don't know.
And John Wayne toilet paper, rough and tough, and doesn't take off of nobody.
Well, now what they have, and we have it. We use the filters a lot for Mercedes-Benz and BMW. Is they have these super duper motor oils. They're extended life. They meet the exact specifications for Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen. I mean, all these manufacturers have different specifications, and again, like I said at my shop, I think we have 7 or 8 different oils on the shelf, and we still have to order some occasionally. I mean, your TDI takes something different, but what I was getting at, instead of using the toilet paper, they have fleece. Think of your fleece jacket. They're a fleece filter, and they're for the extended drain. So if you're doing, if you're going for that oil change on your BMW and your Mercedes, and you're going to, Joe Blow Lube, and he's going to throw in, maybe he's going to put in the right oil, but if he doesn't put in the right filter, he uses the $1.77 oil filter. Well, now that oil change is no good. Put all the great oil you want in it, but if you can't keep that oil clean and filtered, you've got all the junk floating around in it. So you've just ruined your oil change. Again, it's easy for a shop to screw these up too, not just at home. And I think people always revert back to the price because there's this $29.95 oil change. That's on most cars, but not all of them. So.
Well, 602-277-5827. Thanks for the call, John. We're going to go with Adam in Chandler on a 2013 GMC Sierra. How can we help you, Adam? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Great show. I'm glad I got to catch you this weekend. Show kind of ties into what I have as far as a question. I have a GMC pickup. Religious about getting oil changed and tires rotated every 5,000 miles. But I tow a trailer. I do contract work, and I tow a pretty heavy trailer on a regular basis. So I'm just kind of curious if there's any additional maintenance I need to be looking out for a vehicle that does a lot of towing. It's not super heavy towing, but a tool trailer.
Yeah. How many pounds do you think that is? And is that a half-ton GMC Sierra?
It is, yeah, and it's. The trailer's probably only 3,000 or 4,000 pounds when it's fully loaded.
But that's, I suppose, I think that's different than going to the lake where you put the trailer on and you just go get on the highway and you go with that heavy load. When you have that 3,000 or 4,000 pound trailer and you're a contractor, you might go to 1 or 2 jobs a day. You're in city traffic, so I think that's even a different situation than just broadly saying towing. And I know you've got some suggestions, Dave.
Well, with towing and you're adding that load, it's really going to create a lot more heat in the transmission. So the transmission is something that I would definitely step up the service intervals on. So, where that truck may have a 50,000-mile recommendation in the owner's manual, I would at least cut that in half, 20 to 30,000 miles on a transmission service because the fluid's putting up with a lot more heat, so it's breaking down that much quicker. So that would be the thing. Anything for the engine, Matt?
Well, I think we'll go back up just a little bit and go to the back of the truck and talk about the rear differential. Oh, yeah. That's one, too, where I think we should shorten that interval. That GMC truck probably came with a 75-140 or a 75-90 rear diff oil, and it is probably synthetic. I don't think there's anything wrong with shortening that. You might find in the owner's manual it never has a suggestion for a service. I'd probably think about doing that at 50,000 miles.
It's funny because we don't really see service intervals that much for differentials, but we are fixing differentials all the time. Bearings go bad. It's a pretty normal repair at our shop.
Well, and then let's not forget one other thing, Dave, the transfer case. Just because you're not using four-wheel drive. Now, we don't know if this truck is four-wheel drive, but like my four-wheel drive truck, I never use the four-wheel drive. It's the mall crawler. The four-wheel drive never gets used, but that transfer case is always getting used, even though you're not locking it into four-wheel drive. And it's got very low fluid capacity.
So in the engine, would you do anything different in the engine? I think I'd want to be on a little bit more aggressive maintenance or being in the shop more often. You're going to go through brakes quicker. I know those Brakes tend to last a long time on that truck.
Yeah, that'll wear out the rotors before it'll wear out the brakes. But engine-wise, not really. That truck, I believe, has a 100,000-mile spark plug interval. You might cut that back just a little bit, 80,000. If you're going to keep the truck, what's the difference between doing spark plugs at 100 and 200 versus 80 and 160? You're still going to spend the money. You may not own the truck at 200. You may not own it at 160. But if you cut that interval down just a little bit, you're going to probably avoid maybe damaging a coil. The spark plug's going to come out easier if it's got carbon buildup on it. And the computer can make up for a lot of little misfires. If the spark plug misfires so many times per minute, there's a window. And I'll just make up a number. But maybe it doesn't turn on the check engine light till it misfires 500 times in 1 minute. Well, if it's misfiring 499 times, it's not enough to turn on the check engine light, but it's enough to lose efficiency.
Lose a little bit.
Yeah, so that's why I would do the spark plugs a little early. Keep an eye on the diff, look at the transfer case, and definitely the transmission.
Transfer cases are one of those things that people just don't check, and they only hold 2 quarts of fluid. So, on those GMs, I think of them, they get these pinholes in them, and they run out of fluid, and no one knew it ran out of fluid, and it's an expensive repair. So if you got a 4-wheel drive and you're going in for an oil change, hey, check my transfer case fluid. I don't want to forget about it. So when we come back, we've got Dave and Andy on open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277 KTAR. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR Car Guys, Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Yes, we realize this is a long name to remember, but most of our customers know us simply as ADS. ADS is a family-owned and operated, state-of-the-art, full-service automotive repair facility with an expert staff that has helped us earn the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation for the 2nd straight year in a row. We are honored, humbled, and dedicated to providing the same level of service to you and your family. We will always strive to get it done right the first time so that you'll leave with a smile on your face after every repair or service. ADS is a bumper-to-bumper radio approved shop with a long name but a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our #1 priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard, ADS proudly serves Ahwatukee, Chandler, Tempe, Gilbert, and Southeast Phoenix. Stop by or check us out at automotiveddiagnosticspecialties.com today.
Hi, Jerry Colangelo here. Want to play some historic golf? Swing by the Arizona Biltmore Golf Club, located right next to the Arizona Biltmore Resort. Built in the late 1920s, the Biltmore Golf Club is second to none for prestige, proximity, and privileges. In fact, golf legends, celebrities, and presidents have enjoyed its Adobe and Links courses, offering 36 holes of challenging play. Book a tee time today at azbiltmoregc.com. That's azbiltmoregc.com.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, oh yeah, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations.
Few cities are as car-centric as Phoenix, and this is the show that'll help you to better understand that machine you depend on to get around the valley. It's Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and the KTAR app for Android and iPhone.
Welcome back to Bumper Radio on this Valentine's Day. Still going to figure out what I got to do. Stop at the store, pick up some cards. Flowers are always tough for me to buy at the last minute. They want $1 gazillion for them.
I was standing at the card aisle in Walgreens the other day, and there's a woman next to me, and it's always quiet. You don't know. It's like you're looking at cards, and she's not talking to you, or there's a guy there maybe, or whatever. And I'm looking, and I'm like, isn't this painful? I mean, they're either so corny and cheesy, or they're funny, but it's not your kind of humor. I mean, it's really tough. It just makes my eyes bleed when I
There's some people that are card people. They go and they study the cards, and they see a good card, they pick it for next year.
Well, I'm last minute Larry, so usually the choices are pretty good.
It's frustrating and you're agitated. Well, we've got a text. You can text us at 411-923. And this text is, my truck calls for 520 motor oil. Is it okay to use 1030 motor oil? What do you think, Matt?
No. Why?
Why?
Why would you?
Right.
There's a couple reasons why you would use 1030 over 520. You know better than the manufacturer does. Your grandpa told you so, and you're still stuck with that. Or you want to save a few bucks. None of those are good reasons. Use the 520. That's what it calls for.
I hear it all the time. People say, I think it's too thin. I think it's too thin. And I'm pretty sure if it was too thin, the manufacturer would not have recommended it. I mean, I get it. I get it because I hear the question. It's a pretty regular question. I don't know about that 520. I think, old Grandpappy said to go with a 1030.
Yeah, and don't use that. Quaker State's got wax in it. Now, just do it in that case. Now, Dave, we are kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth on this a little bit. On one hand, we're saying do what the manufacturer says, and then the other hand, we're saying don't listen to the manufacturer because the oil change interval isn't long enough. Well, I don't believe they're going to give you advice on what oil to use in the car. That's to make that car run most efficiently. The bearing clearances are very tight. And you just name all the reasons. There's no reason for them to lead you down the wrong road, I think, on the specification of the oil. That's the reality no matter what. But what's not reality is the oil change interval. They're not I don't think they're intentionally giving you bad advice. But, they run that 500,000-mile road test or deal where they run the engine on the dyno. They just turn that thing on and run it the equivalent of 1 million, whatever the number was, 500,000 hours. I don't know. They're just running this engine, just abusing it, but they're not driving around town. They're not heat cycling it. They're not doing all these things that are really real-world tests. Yeah, they're driving around Phoenix. You see these cars with the manufacturer tags on them. They're all painted funny so you can't see the body lines, and they have tape over the emblems so you don't know what kind of car they're doing. So they're doing some testing. But, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago with the carbon buildup. We talked about Cadillac. Oh, we were talking about timing belts, and there was some question about timing chains. Well, in GM, you just follow the oil life monitor, right? Well, there's a recall or service bulletin on the Cadillacs because they're wiping out timing chains. Well, what's the recall? It's got nothing to do with putting a better timing chain in it. All the recall does is change the program in the computer to turn that oil change light on sooner. So we do say you follow the manufacturer, and at the same time we say don't.
In some instances, but I think that information has to be sifted. You can't just take it as, hey, this is the way we do it all. I mean, you got to, for certain things, you're right. And we are talking out of both sides of our mouth, but not really.
My truck, I'll go back to my Toyota Tundra. 520 was the oil that it came with originally, and then there's a service bulletin. They found out that they weren't meeting their fuel mileage specs, so they said if you want to get that mileage, you've got to change it to 0.20. So even the oil is affecting the fuel economy on the cars now. You might put 1030 in instead of 530 in the warm weather down here right now, and then you drive up to Park City to go skiing, and you start the car and blow the crankshaft seal out of it because the oil is not flowing.
602-277-5827. We're going to go with Dave in Chandler. He's got a 2008 Toyota Prius. How can we help you, Dave? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I have the 2008 Prius, and the manufacturer says, A, don't ever change the transmission fluid, and B, go ahead and run your radiator 100,000 or more miles without changing the fluid, which is counterintuitive to everything I've ever owned. Is that accurate? Because it has the CVT transmission in it, and it's sealed. And I took it to the dealer, and they said, we looked at your radiator, looks fine, and we're not going to touch your transmission.
How many miles are on the car now?
87,000.
87,000. Dave, you take the transmission, I'll take the rest.
As far as the transmission, I don't think I have a good answer for that.
In that case, I'll leave.
But I know who does. I'm gonna refer you to Glenn at Good Works Auto Repair. Glenn and I work together closely. I mean, he's right down the street from my shop, but he does a ton of that Toyota Prius work. And we see a Prius from time to time, and we do service them, but it's not in my shop every day. So I don't feel I have a good enough answer for you. And I would want to get his take on it and see what he thinks.
And quite interesting. It's funny that the dealership said, no, we don't need to service it. So maybe they are looking out. They're looking at it. And you got to remember the Prius has two different cooling systems too. There's a cooling system for the radiator or the engine when it's being used, and then there's a cooling system for the electrical system, the inverter and such. And those have some problems. And I'm a big believer in you've got shortened intervals on the coolant. We abuse every fluid here in this market. The oils, the transmission fluids, the coolants, they're all overused. And the other key thing is, can't put that bad water in it. We use distilled water at the shop. You've got to be putting good water in the radiators too, or that's one of those cases where the service can be worse than not doing the service.
For sure. Now, Dave, you can find Good Works Auto Repair. They're a hybrid shop, and they're in Tempe, but you can find them at bumper2bumperradio.com. They're in Tempe, right off the 101 and Broadway. So check them out. We're going to go with Tony in Avondale on a Mazda RX8 2007. How can we help you, Tony?
Yeah, guys, I have this car that used to drive it a lot. Now I haven't driven this thing in probably about 6 or 7 months. Went out there one day a couple weeks ago, just ended up tooling it around and found out the battery was dead. So now I'm looking at replacing this battery, which isn't that big of a deal. But now I'm wondering what else, since this car has sat for 6-7 months, that I should really be worrying about. If I check the oil and there's enough in there, do I need to just, because it sat so long, take it into a place to end up having it checked out?
Yeah, I guess it would depend on the maintenance and what was done preceding parking the car. Was it in good shape and it just got parked for a few months, or what was the?
Yeah, nothing was wrong with the vehicle or anything else. I just do construction work, and then just through the summer and then coming out of it, it's just been real busy, and that's just kind of like our one-day tool around town kind of car. Not something that's really a daily driver, and it just happened to just sit for a very long time.
Okay, well, what I would do, I guess, is go top off the fuel with whatever kind of fuel it calls for. Now, this is one case where I might use premium fuel in the car, even if it didn't call for it, but I'm willing to bet an RX-8 wants premium fuel, because the fuel that sits in the tank for a while, it's going to start losing a bit of octane. I don't know what the exact number is. It drops 1 octane in a month, and then it loses a little bit more each period of time after that. So no matter what it is, just go top it off with premium fuel. Go on a drive. Go enjoy the car. Make sure the tire pressures are up, set, and just drive it. Maybe it's a good time if you're going to start driving it. Go get the oil changed. Time doesn't really wear out the oil if it's just sitting there. But the worst thing that could have happened if you're starting the car for 5 minutes once a week, it's worse than I would just leave it alone. And then in the future, if you think you're not going to drive it for a while, you can put some additive in there called Seafoam that helps extend the life of the fuel. A Sta-Bil or one of those other fuel additives. If you think you're not going to drive it for a period of time again, put some of that in there. But I don't think you've got much to worry about. Just go drive and enjoy the car. Keep your nose open for any odd odors or anything like that maybe you don't remember having before. But just drive it and enjoy it.
Thanks for the call, Tony. You can text us at 411-923. I got a couple texts to get to, but we're going to go with Jeff in Phoenix on a 2006 Honda Odyssey. How can we help you today, Jeff?
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm great. How are you guys? Happy Valentine's Day.
Fantastic. Thank you. I expect flowers.
So here we go. So I got this Honda Odyssey that we love, and a year and a half ago in the summertime, we tried to drive it up to Flagstaff. We're in North Phoenix, and we got just to about Prescott, and the transmission gave out and it went into neutral. And drive, first, second, third, there was nothing. Reverse worked, and it just was neutral. So we pulled over. We had it towed back home, and by the time it got back home, the tow driver was able to pull it forward into the driveway. I'm like, well, that wasn't working, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. So later that evening, I tried to drive it around the block, and it seemed to be fine, and it drove fine. So over the next couple of days, I kept driving it a little further, to where I was then driving it back to work and 40 miles to work, and everything was fine. We kind of forgot about it. This past summer, we tried to go up north again, and within a half a mile of the same spot of breaking down, the transmission did the same thing. It just cut into neutral. There were no gears. We had it towed home again. Same thing later that night. The next day, it seems to work fine. We drive it to Casa Grande, where we have some family. So as long as we're kind of level, it seems to work fine. I've taken it to the dealer and said that, this is kind of what's happening, because they have no clue. So I thought I'm calling you guys to see if you've ever heard of this or have any idea of what to maybe start to look for.
I only hear about it twice a week. It's a pretty regular thing. I don't know that the dealership's never heard anything like that, or the guy that you talked to maybe had not heard anything like it. But these things, these Honda Odysseys don't have enough transmission cooling. And so what happens on these road trips where you're going up a gradual incline, and we may only be talking about a 2 or 3% grade for an extended period, it starts to slip the converter, drag the converter clutch, creating a lot of heat in the transmission. And what happens is the transmissions a lot of times will vent and aerate, and then you're going to lose everything. The car sits for a couple hours, and it goes back to working just fine. So this does happen on a regular basis. We'll get them towed in on a regular basis. We look at it. We'll pull off a cover where we can see the torque converter, and if the metal is turned blue like it got really hot, we probably need a new torque converter. But if we pull that cover off and it's not blue, we'll go ahead and service it with a complete fluid exchange, add a transmission cooler, and it'll probably work for years to come. So it's something we see pretty often, and Yeah,
you've got a pretty standard repair process around that, Dave. I know you've fixed a couple for some of my customers, and you've got that figured out pretty well.
Honda Odysseys, I mean, there's a whole lot of information, even on our website at TriCityTransmission.com. When we come back, we're taking a couple more phone calls at 602-277-5827, and we're going to get to the email of the week. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys, on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at TriCityTransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
It's really coming down now, and that little voice is saying shoulda, coulda, woulda. You meant to call Kaiko Roofing last storm, but you didn't, did you? Now it's raining cats and dogs, and Mr. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is watching a puddle form on the ceiling. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, get rid of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Call Kaiko Roofing at 602-944-4600 for a free checkup today. At Kaiko, we install peace of mind with the finest materials and the most skilled workers, all backed by the owner's pride guarantee. Flat, foam, tile, or shingle, Kaiko handles them all. From a small leak to a complete new roof, Kaiko has you covered. Since 1994, Kaiko has repaired or replaced tens of thousands of valley roofs. Over 50% of our business coming from referrals or repeat customers. In fact, over 98% of our customers say they would refer us to a friend. For more information and financing options, go to KaikoRoofing.com. Kaiko Roofing. We're crazy about quality.
Hi. This is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotivediagnosticspecialties.com.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are helping you with your car every Saturday from 11 to noon. You can also find us at bumpertobumperradio.com. While you're there, be sure to like us on Facebook. And if you're looking for a good shop, maybe you're just kind of just wandering. You go to a different shop every time. It actually reminds me of the email of the week from bumpertobumperradio.com. Hi, guys. 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland. My check engine light came on a few weeks back. Had some minor repairs. I checked the code, came back, O2 sensor issue, took it to the shop close to my home, and they run the diagnostic. They told me it was a gas cap. They ordered a new one. The light went out for a couple days, took it to another shop that ran the diagnostic and said something different. Can't remember what it was, but I'm tired of paying for diagnostic testing. Can you guys help me out? This guy needs to go to Bumper Radio and find one shop, find a good quality shop, and just stick with them. Part of the problem is we went to Mechanic A. He did something for us, and We didn't like the results, so we went to mechanic B. If we went back to mechanic A might not have charged us for diagnostic, but I know gas cap gets thrown out there a lot of times, and usually it's for an evaporative emissions code, not necessarily the O2 sensor code, other than, you're not even paying attention. You're over there reading tags and looking up cars.
I'm paying attention, Dave. I already know what you're talking about, dude. The point is, you're going to go to the doctor. They're going to do some blood work. They're going to do a little test, give you a little hoo-ha and whatever, squeeze you, have you cough, and then they're
using the whole fist, doc.
And then they say, well, try this. We're going to give you write you a prescription for XYZ, or try not to eat something that you've been eating and see what happens. And that's the first visit sometimes, maybe. We're going to do some tests. And then you go, and I still got that belly ache, or I'm still not feeling well. So now you go to a different doctor.
Start all over.
And maybe you did or didn't tell them about the first one that you went to. And you're just kind of shopping for a different answer, maybe. So I guess the point is just go back. Because a lot of times, I know if we do a diagnostic work, or I call it testing, diagnosis implies a conclusion. We need to test until we find the problem. If we do some testing and we tell you to try something, we're going to continue. We're going to carry that on next time. So I think the problem is then you go start over somewhere else. The second shop doesn't have the same information. They're not armed with all that same information because the first shop took notes. They write it on your work order. Maybe their shop copy. They give it back to the same technician. He can pick up where he left off, where the new guy has to start over again. So you're really kind of just wasting your resources. Get that relationship and go back to that same guy, and they're going to take care of you.
Well, thanks for the email, Sergio. If you want to email us questions for show topics on future shows, it's bumper2, bumperradio.com. Go to the contact link, and you can send us information there. So we are going to go with David on a 2000 F350. Go ahead, David. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, Matt and Dave. So my truck runs normal on going uphill without any load, but once I'm pulling a trailer, like a camping trailer, it starts revving really high, and it doesn't go past 55 miles per hour. And I was hoping that you can direct me the right way on what to look for.
It starts revving really high. So if you're going 65 miles an hour, when you say revving high, if you look at the tachometer, the engine speed, what RPM is that at?
Right under 3.
Right under 3? It seems a touch high.
It's a diesel. So what would it normally be before it starts to rev high?
About 2,300.
Okay, so that's high. It's got to be a transmission issue, right, Dave?
Well, it could be either a transmission issue or a transmission control issue. So there may be something control-wise that may, the torque converter a lot of times will shift that RPM. So if the torque converter is not logging up, maybe with the extra load, the RPM is going to seem higher. So we could be starting to have a torque converter clutch issue. It's a 2000, which should set, the overdrive light might flash on the shifter. People don't realize that overdrive light flashing. It's like the check engine light for the transmission. As opposed to the check engine light for the engine. It tells us, hey, we have a problem. If the torque converter's slipping on that on a long drive, it would set a code, and you would get some different shifts, hard shifts. So if you're not feeling that, we may be not a transmission issue.
Well, yeah, so transmission related, but who knows? You got to start somewhere.
So thanks for the call, David. We're going to go with Joe in Mesa on a 1998 E150 van. How can we help you, Joe? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Thank you for taking that call. I got 300,000 miles on my Ford van, and I rebuilt the transmission 100,000 miles ago. My front seal is leaking now. I'm trying to decide if I should just bite the bullet, pull it out, change the seal, or does any of those fluids really work? I don't like mixing fluids when I can help it. I use Redline synthetic usually in the van.
I think you're referring to the stop leak fluids, and I'm not a big fan of the stop leak fluids because what they do is they're designed to swell the seals a little bit, and while it may swell this seal and that may help the situation, we may do damage to another seal because eventually it doesn't stop swelling the seals. So I think in the long run it deteriorates the seals. 100,000 miles on it, it could still possibly just be resealed where the transmission is going to have to come out of the vehicle and be resealed. It's leaking out of the front. We don't know that it's a seal. It could be a pinhole in the torque converter. We see that from time to time where it's not the transmission leaking or the actual seal leaking. But I don't know that I would throw a stop leak in it. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, me either. Not good, because it could fix the wrong problem. It could fix a problem that you don't have, right, Dave? It's going to blow up the seals and balloon everything up, and ruin something else that didn't need attention.
And more than likely, there's a bushing. I mean, that front bushing, pump bushing, could be going bad, causing that seal. I mean, it's been 100,000 miles since it was installed. That torque converter could be a little bit cockeyed.
Yeah,
so to say.
Right. I want to take a couple text messages. We have one that talking about the oil drain plug on their car has been stripped out. Well, a lot of times it's the shop's fault, or it used to be. And these are aluminum drain pans in a lot of cars, and then they have a crush washer, which is an aluminum washer that should get replaced every oil change, and then you have a steel drain plug. I used to be guilty of this all the time. You put it on there, you grab a wrench, and you tighten it up. Okay? Well, over time, that stretches those threads and wears those threads out. So what I've noticed my guys doing a lot in the shop is they're using a torque wrench to tighten things. And I'm amazed. They go over there and they're doing this oil change, and he's got out this little mini torque wrench. He's like, tick, tick. It's barely tight. And I'm
you find out that we've been over-tightening stuff for years.
Yeah. I mean, it takes like 14 pounds. I mean, that's nothing. That's no pressure at all. So that's another common thing that you can mess up. And you may not strip it the first time. It's not going to strip the second time. It's the 7th or the 8th or the 10th oil change on the car, and those threads just come out. Now, the good thing is, instead of buying maybe a $400 or $500 oil pan, we can actually fix those. We do what's called a helicoil. We drill out the hole in the pan. Sometimes access is an issue. We might have to take the pan off to do the repair, but you still don't have to buy the expensive pan. The repair is good as new.
We also got a text here. This gentleman has a high mileage vehicle and with some blow-by, and he's wondering if there's different oil that he should use to deal with that blow-by issue. And I see you laughing. But, there is a lot of high mileage oils out there that may help with some of that blow-by. And, Matt, you've talked about some engine products where it's going to maybe clean and help restore those rings or free up those rings. Maybe that's a possibility.
Yeah, BG makes a good product. They have a compression restorer, an engine cleaner, and an MOA, which I think is just motor oil additive is what the acronym is for. Check with your shop. It's worth a try. It's better than throwing the engine away. So it's worth a shot. So thanks for joining us today on Bumper to Bumper Radio. I'm Matt Allen. He's Dave Riccio. And as always, we'll see you next Saturday at 11, and happy Valentine's Day.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and Bumper to Bumper Radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Hi, Jerry Colangelo here. Want to play some historic golf? Swing by the Arizona Biltmore Golf Club, located right next to the Arizona Biltmore Resort. Built in the late 1920s, the Biltmore Golf Club is second to none for prestige, proximity, and privileges. In fact, golf legends, celebrities, and presidents have enjoyed its Adobe and Links courses, offering 36 holes of challenging play. Book a tee time today at azbiltmoregc.com. That's azbiltmoregc.com.
World class and in your own backyard. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is just around the corner at 7th Street in Virginia. And for over 19 years, they've been recognized as one of the best auto repair shops in the country. Voted Best Auto Repair by AZ Central, A+ rated by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranty, and complimentary transportation to and from your home or office. Virginia Auto. They're serious about service. See for yourself. VirginiaAutoservice.com. Join us for everything automotive on Bumper to Bumper Radio with Dave Riccio and Matt Allen, the KTAR Car Guys, every Saturday, 11 to noon on KTAR News 92.3 FM. Winter is finally here. Is your car ready? Whether it's snow up north, rain in the valley, or